My name is Howard Rashid, Microsoft MVP, MCT, and founder at Powercademy, where we help businesses in the Microsoft ecosystem upskill their teams with Power Platform and AI. And today we have a really exciting video because what we're going to cover is the Dataverse Skills plugin that Microsoft just released recently. This is effectively a plugin for coding agents like Claude and GitHub Copilot to understand your Dataverse data and be able to query and build Dataverse structured against it. In this video, I'm going to walk you through what it is, the benefits of it, how it works under the hood, and also take you through a live demo to actually show you how it's working. Now, before we get started, I want to take you through Microsoft's agent data platform story that they've been telling with Dataverse, because I think it's quite telling of the direction Microsoft wants to go in with the Dataverse platform. Now, as I'm sure you know, you've been using AI for many years. It sucks without good data. And Microsoft is trying to make Dataverse the home of where your business data and intelligence sits. So then you can utilize AI products like Copilot and build effective tools using the Power Platform a lot easier. Now there's 3 different phases to this, and I want to break down each one. And each of these phases go through a different entity within the business. So here we've got business user, here we've got maker, and here we've got developer. Now this is where our focus will be for today, but I just want to cover these really briefly. So I use AI, so this is the business user, right? And their experience is through M365 Copilot. And effectively the features that they've got that are powered by Dataverse for M365 Copilot include Work IQ and also a Dataverse search, which can now power Copilot search results. So if someone needs access to CRM data or sales data, and that's living within Dynamics 365, i.e. Dataverse, they can now query that through Copilot. So this is the I use AI section. So, reserved for business users rather than makers and developers. Then we're here in the middle for I build agents, and this is where the maker hat really sits. What's new in this area is specifically the Dataverse MCP server, business skills as well, which is quite new. We've got prompt columns within Dataverse that live there, and a Dataverse search configuration, which has been there for a while. Now, the story that Microsoft is telling with this middle ground is effectively you're not just using AI, you're actually building with it. And these are the capabilities that they give you with Dataverse to utilize the technology to your organization's advantage. Now, the Dataverse MCP server, we covered this in an early video, which I highly recommend checking out before you watch this one. Now, this video stands on its own, so if you're just interested in this, you can watch it, but it's nice to just understand the pretense of how this technology is actually fueled. Effectively here, you have access to all of these tools that Microsoft give you within a low-code interface. And then here on the right-hand side, we have the developer entity. And you can see the quote that they've added here is I code with AI. So the experience here is through the GitHub Copilot CLI or Claude Code, which is what we're going to be using for this video. And this is what we're covering in this video because we're going to go through the Dataverse plugin for coding agents, which effectively brings all of these tools together, including the SDK for Python and the MCP servers, to give you one place to develop Dataverse solutions and tables. Now this is useful for a lot of different reasons. I'm going to show you the 3 phases that we're going to go through within our demo. But I just wanted to first show you kind of the story that Microsoft is telling with Dataverse beforehand. Now I want to really quickly cover what Dataverse Skills are in the first place. They're an open source plugin for Microsoft. So if you've seen my other videos where we've worked with the plugin for generated pages or the plugin for Power Pages, this kind of sits under that bubble. They've given this to you so you can utilize coding agents outside of the Microsoft ecosystem and still bring value within the Microsoft ecosystem. So this is what this is. So coding agents now connect to your Dataverse environment so you can query against it, you can build against it, and it's built in with the skills to understand how it can do that in the most effective way. And now you can use AI to conduct Dataverse actions. So if you want to know and get a query of all of your Dataverse data with X revenue, or if you want to bulk import data, you can now do this through the Dataverse skills. Now, Microsoft breaks this down in 3 distinct areas: connect, build, and operate. Connect meaning that the agent discovers your environments and authenticates you, so then you can start using it. Building means now the agent can create solutions, tables, columns, and relationships, and even forms, and basically build out your Dataverse structure from the ground up. And then operate, of course. So once you've actually built the structure, the agent can load the data, it can run analytical queries, and it can also bulk upload CSV files directly from your terminal. Now, I think something that's quite telling is the Dataverse plugin brings your tools together. So it's not a separate tool, that's working in isolation. It's actually utilizing all of these different areas to give you a unanimous solution. As we discussed, things like the Dataverse MCP, the PAC CLI, the Python SDK, is all coming together to make this Dataverse plugin. I've linked the GitHub repo in the description so you can see this, but I wanted to take you through the individual skills that are established using the Dataverse plugin. So here, if we scroll down, you can see we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 skills that are here for us. And you can see each one and what it does. Now, the main ones we're going to be using here is query, connect, of course, to get started, Dataverse metadata, create the tables, but of course you have many other ones like security and admin as well that you can utilize. So I just wanted to show you this because the best place to actually come in and take a look at these updates and see how it's being developed and even suggest some feedback is through these GitHub repos. And I'm sure the team at Microsoft here would be very glad of you giving them feedback on this so then they can continue to improve it. So please feel free to take a look at here for any official information. Now, in true Microsoft fashion, there's two things in the Dataverse context that are called skills, which just add an element of confusion. But these are the main differences. Dataverse Skills, which is what we're covering here, is for developers, while Business Skills is for makers. Dataverse Skills is run at build time, while Business Skills are run at runtime. And Dataverse Skills, really the bottom line, is how you build with Dataverse. That's kind of what it gives the ability to do. Whereas Business Skills for Dataverse is how agents use Dataverse. There'll be another separate video coming for Dataverse Business Skills, but for now, just know that if you see these two in conjunction, they are different things. They're just named very, very similar. But anyway, let's get into the demo because I'm sure you're eager to see how this works. Okay, so before you get started, I want you to navigate into the GitHub repo, which will be linked below. And if you go to the Getting Started page here and scroll down to the bottom, you will see how you can install this and also the prerequisites that are required for this. It will take you through verification, also trying some prompts out, some safety and security information. So I do recommend just taking a look at this before you start testing with it. But let's say you have this all installed. What I'm now going to do is open up my Visual Studio Code environment. So let's say now you followed the prerequisites, you've got the Dataverse plugin marketplace added, and you've installed the plugin from there. What we're now going to do is open up a terminal session and go to New Terminal. So before I actually run through this demo, I'm going to create a dedicated empty folder for the project and launch Claude Code from inside it. You don't really have to do this, but if you don't, you can hit some problems with the steps that it asks you because it will ask you to continue from the session. And if you don't do it from a specific place and you continue, then it can be very difficult. So I recommend just doing it from the folder. Again, it's not a requirement, but it just helps me. So I've created a folder already called Workshop Tracker Demo. I'm just going to open it using CD and then also run Claude. You can see now that's loaded for me. And I'm just going to make sure that I have the plugin. And by that, we'll just go into /plugin, go into installed. You can see we've already got a Dataverse MCP connected. So that's going to kind of override that. But if I scroll down into user, into the installed area, you can see the Dataverse plugin is here and enabled. Now, with that being said, what I can simply do is cancel out of this by pressing my escape button and just ask it to connect me to my Dataverse environment. Once I do this, I can press enter. And you can see now it's going to recognize what I want to do. It's going to use the correct skill. We're going to say, yes, you can do that. And it's going to connect us to the Dataverse environment. Now, the first thing it will do is make sure that the prerequisites are installed on your system. And it's likely going to ask you to sign in to authenticate your environment. It's asking us to run some commands, and we're just going to allow it to. And we're just going to allow it to go through each of these sections and verify that we have everything and configure what it needs to. So now it's kind of gone through its pre-configuration, and you can see it ran packauth list and can see that we are currently selected on our Howden at powercademy.com YouTube development environment. So that's currently what we want. It's then going to ask us what Dataverse environment we want to connect to. And if you don't see your environment listed here, you can chat about this or type something. But it can be useful to just ensure that you are on the right account by using the pack commands and the pack CLI. But in this case we are, so we're just going to use the YouTube development environment, press enter. You can see it's connected to the right environment, and this nice green circle means that it's done it successfully. We're going to allow it to proceed, and you can see now it's going to open up a Visual Studio Code file, saving all of your IDs here in the top, so we're just going to allow it to do that. And you can see now it's configuring the MCP server. So it configured the auth, it made sure it's working, and now it's going to configure the MCP server so it can actually go and do the things we want it to do. We're just going to validate with our accounts. We have an issue here saying the request headers are too long, and if you ever run into this, just go into incognito. It seems like this worked for us anyway, but again, if it does ever bug out or anything like that, just paste the link, the authentication link, into an incognito mode. We're just going to proceed. And just like that, you can see we are connected to Dataverse. It gives us the components that it's installed, what's connected, what's active, what's working. And now it's telling us that we can design and create tables, load or query data, or also export solutions. So in this case, we already have a prompt ready. And if I paste this in, paste again to expand, you can see I want to build a workshop delivery tracker. We've asked it to create us a new solution called Workshop Tracker with these 3 tables. Make sure everything is added to the Workshop Tracker solution. So we've added another layer to make sure that it can do that for us. And if I press enter, you can see now it's going to go and do that. without us touching the Dataverse environment whatsoever. It's going to resolve the relationships, and if it runs into any difficulties, it will even ask us to validate them. So after that prompt, we're just going to see how that goes. So you can see here, it's actually seen that we don't have a publisher and created one for us. It's taken a look at the publishers that we do have and decided that it's going to create one relevant to this case. Now, this is an area where you can get tripped up. So if I'm being completely honest, I don't recommend building solutions in this way. I think if you're going to build with this plugin, then what you should do is create a solution beforehand and ask it to build within that solution. But in this case, I just want to show you the direction that this plugin is moving in and how it wants to be all-inclusive eventually. So it's going to create that new publisher, set the solution to that publisher, and then create the tables in there. So I'm going to go make a coffee, I'm going to come back, and it should be finished. And just like that, if we take a look, you can see it's created the 3 tables, added the relationships. It's letting us know that it's currently in the workshop tracker solution. And if we open up our environment, YouTube development, we go to solutions, and we do a Control-Shift-R. You can see we've got the workshop tracker solution over here. And if we open this up, go into objects, you can now see we've got the company, workshop, and workshop attendee tables. And if I open these up, they've got their unique columns. You can see such as region, got the name, of course, we've got industry now. Now you can argue that you could have just used the account table, something I could have done retrospectively, but now we've got these 3, completely custom. So now let's say hypothetically, I want some test data to actually look at this, because if I open up the company table, in this case, what you're going to see is just blank rows. If I open this up, you can see we don't have any records currently existing within here. So what I'm going to do is open up Visual Studio Code, and I have a prompt ready to go to actually create some records for these tables. So we've said now populate this with realistic sample data. We want 8 client companies, 12 workshops, and 40 attendees distributed across the workshops. And then what we're going to do is press enter, and we're going to see what it does. What it should do is go and get the workshop tables that it's just created, understand the different columns that sit within them, and then populate the columns as necessary. So you can see, whilst this would have been a manual process in the past to add that sample data, you can now do it easily with the Dataverse MCP connected with this plugin. You can see it's writing a single data population script covering all 40 attendees across 12 workshops and 8 companies. And you can see it's taken a little while, but it's got all 60 records in Dataverse. It's got the companies here. Obviously, these aren't companies that I'm currently working with. Would be a dream though. But yeah, if I go into the Power App now and refresh this, you can see it's added these records for me. Now, you'd be able to tell with the name, so I'm just going to pull this over here. And you can see there's actually duplicate records, so it seems to have added things a couple of times, which is a little bit frustrating. I'm not sure quite why it's done that. But of course, with iteration, this can be fixed, and also goes to show some of the problems that this might have by doing this through the MCP. But since this is test data, it's not a problem, so we can deal with it. And then the final thing I want to do is run a few prompts to query against this data. So if I go back and go into the workshop table and open this up, I should have some columns here that identify the workshop date. So if I go into date here, you can see we've got the workshop date that we'd actually run it. We've got some recent dates here as well. So if I go into Visual Studio Code and back into Claude, I want it to show me all the workshops we've delivered in the last 3 months. So let's see how quickly it can go and fetch this information for me. Now, the argument can be made that this can be done with Copilot within the model-driven app experience. But again, if you're already working in this plugin, then you may as well do it here. So it just kind of goes to show the querying features that it has available to it. It's understood that today is May 14th, 2026. It's also analyzed the window. It's mentioned it's pulled 0 results, so the date filter format may differ from what is stored. And if we go back into Power Apps, you can see that there are workshops delivered in the 3 months that we are querying it against. So let's see if it actually resolves itself and finds them. Yes, for sure there is something off with the response. So again, it's trying to resolve itself, and let's see if we can get this working. So you can see it has pulled in the records and has resolved itself. You can see 12 returned, and if I do Control O, what we should end up seeing is a more detailed transcript of what is returned, and hopefully it will give it in a bit more of a digestible format than just a bunch of code on the command line. And now you can see I reran the query just to make sure everything was working, and it's listed me the workshops in the past 3 months. So that has worked really nice. It's put it in this table for us, and now we can also query data, which is really cool. So that's the Dataverse AI skills in action. I'm really curious to hear what you think, if it's something that you'd be using, if it will change the way that you create Dataverse solutions going forward. Please just let me know in the comments. If you're watching these types of videos and you think my team needs to know this stuff and kind of get in touch with all these new changes within the Power Platform and Microsoft AI space, then that's exactly what we do at Powercademy. We help businesses upskill in Power Platform and Microsoft AI technology. So if you're interested, there's a link in the top of the description that you can click for more information. But anyway, with that being said, thank you very much for watching the video, and yeah, take it easy.